Hello and welcome once again to Talking Pictures Podcast. I'm your host David and joined with me as always my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you today?
And many special people change, and many lives are living strange. Where were you while we were getting high?
A bit of an Oasis mood today, or?
Won't you introduce the podcast?
Okay, sorry.
And then I'll explain myself.
So welcome to Talking Pictures. If you haven't already, make sure that you're subscribed to us on your favourite podcasting app of choice, whether that be Spotify, Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, and make sure that you're following us on social medias as well. We're available on all social media. All the links are in the description down below. We release new episodes every single Wednesday, as well as bonus episodes every other weekend. Brian, have you got a trailer of the week for us?
David, remember when the Gladiator 2 trailer released and I said it was shit because it used modern day rap, trap, house music, whatever the hell, Usher or Drake or whoever did that song, you know. That
I remember.
Doesn't work, doesn't fit, not suitable, took away any potential epicness and just cheapened it entirely. So that is how you don't put a song in a trailer. But that's what the Electric State did and did right.
Okay. I actually didn't watch the Electric State trailer.
Excuse him, what?
Yeah, I didn't for two reasons. One, because I'm not really a big Millie Bobby Brown fan.
Oh, you're one of those, are you?
Well, what's one of those? What do you mean? Like, it's just, I don't.
So you watch Stranger Things, you watch those two Godzilla-based movies.
And she's my least favourite part about all of those.
Alright, fine.
So,
okay. Everyone's entitled to an opinion.
And then as well as that, it was just kind of I saw the trailer come up on like my Twitter and all, and I was like, oh, I'll probably watch that like when I see it on YouTube. You know the way like it'll come up, but it never did. So I just never watched it on the big screen. Like for me, watching a trailer is watching it on my television. I'm not watching it like maybe subsequent viewings I'll watch on a laptop or a phone, but the first viewing I'd like to do on a TV, and it just never came up on my TV, so I never sought it out.
It's not been out a week. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But normally that will come up like on my feed like straight away when it comes out. Like I'm subscribed to a lot of trailer stuff.
So you're just gonna take my word that when this trailer released, I know it's the Russo brothers. I know it's a Netflix movie. I know
that's another two strikes against it. I think that the Russo brothers have been on a little bit of a not so great streak post MCU. Yeah. And that's not I know that's a popular opinion to have. Like I've seen.
Well, I think after Cherry and The Grey Man and other movies they produced but were not good, but action-wise they are. But a credit I have to give them, it is the writers from the Endgame movie and Infinity War movie. It's the two writing duo that they work with. So it's not just director duo, it's writing duo.
Okay.
So we have that going for it. But to put on another negative strike on it, they did balloon the budget to 320 million.
320 million?
Yeah.
Fuck. That's so big.
It is.
Think about that. That's like, who was it at the Oscars said? The director, Cord Jefferson of American Fiction. Yeah. He said, if instead of making $320 million movies, if we just made 320 $10 million movies, or 32 $10 million movies even, like you would get so many great movies. Like 320 million, that's so much money for one movie, and especially for a movie that's going on Netflix. That just seems like it's doomed to fail. They're not going to pull in enough subscribers on that one movie alone to justify 320 million.
No. This movie is based on a book, and if listeners know us, we've already put a short on YouTube and TikTok describing our thoughts on it. I don't know if you remember.
I do, yeah.
Alright, well, everything we said just now, we've already said in that, but what I also said is it's about orphan teenager Michelle going on a quest across the American Midlands amidst a battle between the human race and robots in a less dark, light-hearted way, in a PG-13 way.
Yeah.
And she's trying to find her brother. And you know, as generic and straightforward as those story concepts come by, when that Oasis song just started playing, like, I mean, come on. Like, it just drawn me into it. Now, did it warrant me to change my top 10 anticipated list for 2025? Maybe. But
foreshadowing.
But that's what I'm trying to make the comparison with the Gladiator trailer, the first one.
It's the music doesn't work in that, but you feel as though the music really worked in this.
The music is the reason why I'm looking forward to it. in March 14th when it comes out, I'll just hope it's good. I'll hope it's a good movie. It might be. It could be. Chris Pratt's in it. They've got another Avengers actor in there. That's 5 for 5 now.
Yeah.
So
it's one that, like, I think it's fair to say that we don't ever want a movie to do bad.
never.
We'd love every movie to be brilliant. But I tell you what, when we wrap up this episode, we'll watch the trailer here now. Because we're sat in front of a television so we can watch it.
Yeah.
But
it's nice. It's nice to finally see some progress on these movies we've been curious about. Yeah. Finally, like we did one with Hellboy the Crooked Man. We did another one with Lilo and Stitch, and yeah, follow us on TikTok.
Yeah. So we're here today to talk about then a spooky movie. We're in October, so it's time for a scary movie. We're going to be talking about Smile 2, the sequel to the 2022 film Smile. I feel like it's very quick to get a sequel out, which not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. We got a sequel to this as fast as we got an American remake to the Speaking of Evil.
Yeah, that's true. We got a sequel to this in the time it takes normally for American TV to do a second season of a show. So
yeah,
with the Smile franchise, I didn't see it until last year. I think it was interesting. I thought it'd be a funny thing to bring up. Just I rewatched the original Smile yesterday. And while I was rewatching it, or when I finished rewatching it, I was like, I bet I probably watched this for the first time around a year ago. And I checked my Letterboxd, follow us on Letterboxd. I checked my Letterboxd and I had watched it exactly 1 year before, the 18th of October. So it was like, whoa, that's creepy. And then seeing the second one then yesterday, I just thought it was a funny coincidence. But
when the kids go into the museum and
and see the statues.
Yeah, to see the statue in the description, by no form other than a coincidence, he ended up watching the same movie exactly 1 year ago.
Maybe I'll make that my tradition. Maybe that'll be my you know the way you watch certain movies at certain times of the year, like I'd always watch like Jingle All the Way or something like that at Christmas. Maybe the 18th of October is my Smile day. I'll always watch a Smile movie on the 18th of October. But you saw the original in cinemas. I didn't. I saw it at home.
Yeah, I saw it in cinemas.
And
scariest fucking thing ever.
I think it was really funny when you said, when the way you described it is like, I've been known to not jump at movies, and this one got me. This one really, really got me.
I've had to live up to a level of expectation and standard that I was the one kid in the class and then in the school who was not scared of movies, who would not be frightened of movies in school and in my household. Even when it came close 2 times, I had to, nope, I have to fight this. I have to live up to, have to live up to the standard that nothing scares me. Paranormal Activity, more like smaramonal activity. But I watched Smile in the cinema. Fuck, that made me jump.
Yeah.
And it made me freeze. Waiting for the jump scare. And when you think it's going to come, it doesn't. And when it does come, you weren't ready for it. And it got you. And it didn't get you with the sharp, loud, suddenly introduced music.
Yeah.
It really gets you. But we're not here to talk about that first one. But
no.
Jesus, some of the scares in that first movie stand out right now. Like the one scare that really gets me is when she's on the phone to someone, the operator.
Yeah. And
the operator starts talking to her and starts talking to her as if she knows her. Are you sure someone's not in the house? Or someone is in the house?
Yeah.
And just turn around.
Well, see,
while you probably didn't realize the camera has been behind her the whole time, as if you're looking at her from the perspective of the entity.
See, that was the thing, is that when I watched the original one the first time, I was like, I enjoyed that, but I didn't really find it scary. Watching it the second time, I was like, I remember this being creepy. I'm going to watch it as like a creepy movie as opposed to a scary movie. And so I enjoyed it way more than when I was like, okay, I want to be creeped out as opposed to scared. But I think it's important to say that the scares that it does in that film are really, really good. I think that a lot of horror films and scary films at the moment now, they do fall into a lot of trappings of, like you were saying there, like just introducing scary noise at the same time, and that's what will get you.
Yeah. It's not the visual, it's the noise, it's the audio.
Yeah, and it's relying too heavily on the audio as opposed to actually scaring you. So when seeing the original one, I was like, this has done really, really well with not falling into those trappings. So when coming into the sequel, I was like, okay, is the sequel going to fall into some of the sort of trappings as well of not being as good as the first one or relying too heavily on those?
Did you actually think that, or was that an honest thought? Because
it's an honest thought when it comes to any sequel. I think that any sequel, well, the majority of sequels, if we look at them over time, the sequel isn't as good as the first film.
Yes, but I think we can't be quick to say that. I never thought that because I knew it was the same director. And
see, I didn't follow this at all.
See, the impact that director made in that first movie, I just fully trusted every fiber in that. Like him, Parker Finn, who directed the 2 movies now, and another director who released a movie near the time of the first Smile, Barbarian.
Yeah.
That director of Barbarian has another movie coming out in 2026, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's so far away.
It is so far away. It was originally starring Pedro Pascal, now it's starring Josh Brolin. So that's called Weapons. Stay tuned to 2026 and Talking Pictures podcast. But Parker Finn knows how to direct and tell a story with interesting characters, and that was just done in one movie. And I knew, because he did a short movie based on this concept, and the actress of that short movie was the original girl who killed herself. When she was possessed. So no, I not once thought, I hope this is good. I hope this isn't falling under the trap. No, not once did I thought that. And yes, you do think about that with any movie that comes out. I'm thinking about it with The Electric State, but I would have been more surprised if it was not as good.
Well, I don't tend to follow horror movies as much as I think the average person would. It's not my genre in terms of like I'm anticipating these movies. The only thing I really knew about it going forward was we're taking a step up in terms of the budget, and we're taking a step up in terms of the main actress.
That's true.
So knowing those two things, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a completely different vibe in terms of this person is a famous person. That being obviously Sky Riley, Naomi Scott's character.
Perfect fake name,
yeah. It was actually, when I was watching it, I was kind of nearly drawing comparisons to Trap. Do you remember Trap? With Josh Hartnett? You remember when what was the Lady Raven, when she was performing? I was like, this feels like she's a real performer. But while Sky Riley was performing, I was like, this feels like it could be a real performance. The song is decent enough, like it's good enough quality.
I think there's more than one song.
Yeah, there is
like 3 songs.
So
that's enough for a movie like this, I think.
Yeah, like that. It just it kind of cements itself that yes, this is a real world that we're inhabiting. Like this is a real celebrity, you know.
Yeah.
But that was the only thing that I was following, was the fact that it's a bigger budget and a bigger scale. I didn't watch any of the trailers. I think I maybe watched the first trailer, but after that I was like, okay, it's the same concept.
I didn't watch any trailers.
You didn't watch any trailers. There you go. And I didn't know it was the same director or anything.
Oh yeah.
So only for those reasons was I skeptical. And it wasn't one that I was anticipating either, because like I said with the original movie, I was late to that when I didn't see it in cinemas. I watched it a year later.
Yeah.
So when this one was coming out, I was nearly kind of the same mind, where I'm not jumping out of my seat to go see it opening night.
That's what we did here.
However, we did go see it opening night, and I have to say that not only was it as good as the first movie, I think in a lot of ways it actually was better than the first movie, which I'm glad to see, because like I said earlier, most films, and this is my personal opinion, I think most sequels aren't as good as the first film. Not the case here. I think that genuinely this film was probably better than the first film. I enjoyed it more for a lot of different reasons.
There's 2 things I want to make note about this being a sequel. One being that it's about a new protagonist. That feels very dated when it comes to horror movie sequels, do you think? Like when you have your first horror movie, and it ends however way it ends, of course, ends with the protagonist in the first one being possessed and burning herself. So we're doing a sequel, so obviously we're following new characters. That's a trope that hasn't really been around in quite a while, because it is an anthology essentially, and it lends itself to that. But let's say if something like Megan, we're getting a sequel to that, but we're following the same characters.
Yeah,
you know, and we're growing up, and I'm not gonna list off any other horror movies that are getting sequels.
No.
Whether they follow the same characters or not. So I thought that they were going against something with following a new protagonist. But I welcome that.
Yeah, the first one that jumps to mind when it comes to following a different group of protagonists, but like the same
world,
the same problem,
Yeah.
would be Final Destination for me. Now
Yeah.
I know that with the second one they dip back into one of the main characters returning.
Yeah.
but that's kind of like an almost in a way a very early like legacy. Like no, to go back to find the person that knows about this.
Well, let's actually talk about that. Because there is a character from the first one that's
There
in
is,
this one.
and I think that what this one does well with following a new set of characters is that we aren't just left to. It doesn't just immediately start with someone else has it.
We're shown the link.
We're shown the link between.
Yeah,
and
we're shown where the chain continues on. Because the movie has a strong opening, 7-8 minutes.
It was the opening scene that I really thought, okay, we're going bigger budget here, and it wasn't anything to do with like
Visual effects
or anything like that. It was one long 5 to 8 minute take following one character. It was main character, not the main character. Sorry,
the second main character from the first movie, who was obviously cursed with it.
Yeah,
and I thought naturally so. I knew this actor was coming back.
I didn't, because I hadn't seen anything from it or wasn't following it.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, but yeah, we follow him and we see how he is dealing with the curse, and we get that slight glimpse. Joel is his name.
6 days later.
6 days later,
and we know because he followed the protagonist in the first one, the doctor. He's informed that if you kill someone in front of a witness to create trauma, he gets to escape.
It moves on that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
I think
and so as a cop, he would be exposed to know how to find bad people who deserve to be.
it was a clever way of him not accepting that fate, and he was just going to, I'm going to give it to someone that deserves it. Like, because I think he had kind of resigned himself to, I can't beat this, but I can get rid of it. And
that's the case, because there is a prisoner who killed a woman because he got rid of it.
Yeah.
And the only lore we got from that first one is the exposition guy, right? Is that it came somewhere from Brazil.
yeah.
So now I associate this entity, this spirit, this demon, what do you want to call it? Smiler?
I would call it the Smiler. That's me, but I don't think it actually has a name, does it? It's like how those, the aliens in A Quiet Place, do you know what they're actually called? Death Angels. But no one ever refers to them as Death Angels.
Creatures.
Yeah, creatures is what I'd call it. But I would call this the Smiler. I call it the Smiler. I think
all right. So we now have declared that we are calling the monster in Smile franchise the Smiler. So
we're really putting our heads together there to come up with that.
So the most lore we've gotten is that it came from somewhere in Brazil, or at least that's where that guy heard it from. So now I associate this Smiler has come to the States from Brazil. And that's only because that's what they wrote in the script, and that's what they delivered. But back to the opening.
It's a great opening scene, I think.
Dude, I forgot it's in a one take.
Yeah.
When he was about to leave after he killed the first guy, accidentally killed the other guy, and now he's because you're doing nothing but root for Joel to survive this. You want him to get away, and I would have been. They could have done that. They could have him achieve his goal, and he did actually achieve it.
Technically, but the wrong recipient of it.
The wrong recipient. He gave it to someone who was undeserving of it.
Yeah.
And that guy, I was actually concerned he didn't actually witness it, because if he didn't, but he did obviously. And when Joel was about to leave, now more goons, and now he has to fight escape. And I'm reminding myself, this feels like a real personal claustrophobic action movie.
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with bad people in the real world.
Yeah, the threat of the Smiler is no longer an active threat
to him.
It's genuinely like just a short action sequence within this.
And
of him as a cop, and these are bad guys.
When he's trying to smash through the window, and he goes through the bathroom door, and he tries to get out of the house, I reminded myself, this is a creature supernatural horror movie.
Yeah.
Why does this feel? I actually told myself, this guy can direct stuff beyond gore.
Has he done
movies.
anything else? I'm just going to quickly look.
Not
him up as
really.
you're talking.
No. The Smile was his first movie.
No, you're right. Yeah. Sorry, he's only just done two shorter. The Laura Hasn't Slept. I guess that's
the short film. This is based upon,
and then another one, 10 minutes, which I assume that those are kind of like student films, starting in the industry. So these are the only two films he's done.
Yeah.
But I'd be happy to see whether he continues down this route of horror films or goes into action, because he proved there he's good at directing and choreographing action.
Like, and when that guy Joel, you know the torment he's been gone on. You don't need, it just says 6 days later.
We know.
Yeah, we know. Someone who didn't see the first one is thinking 6 days later since what?
Yeah.
And well, it says Smile 2, dipshit. Come on.
Yeah.
So like, even when he's walking towards in that one tracking shot towards the car, and he looks over and he sees the burning body, like it's still haunting him. Just a little creepiness there. And cue the first jump scare.
The car hitting him.
Yeah, he gets hit by a car.
When we were watching it, you jumped in your seat and I went, oh, big man Brian, he's getting scared, and it's only just the car hitting him.
But I've been distracted by this entire
action sequence.
Yeah, single take action sequence where I'm rooting for this guy to escape, and I'd be happy that he just exited the movie safely.
Yeah.
All he did was exit. That tore his entire bottom half.
Yeah, he was eviscerated is the only word to say.
And then the title came up with that weird music.
It's really stylized title sequence,
and it's unsettling.
Yeah, it is unsettling, and I think that sets the tone. For this monster.
It's very definitely for this monster, especially when you see it in its true form. But when it does those creative styles in editing, not just like cutting between scenes, but like flipping the images upside down. Does a lot of that.
Something I definitely wanted to talk about was the fact that the editing and the camera work in this really, really elevate it beyond a generic horror film.
Yeah, because
a generic monster movie.
Yeah, because we know what a jump cut is, we know what a match cut is, we know what flipping the image is. You know it by seeing it, and even if you don't know what to call it, we know the language of film, so we know what to associate with it, and we see it all the time. But it's so ingrained in this style. It's like it suits the story so well to cater to the paranoia and nerve-wracking, unsettled situations.
Everything is a little bit off. Like everything.
That's a good way to put it.
Everything looks fine, like you know what's going on, but it's off. And the best way that I can describe that is when there's a moment where the camera is on Riley Skye, on Naomi Scott's character. She's in like the makeup chair, and it pans across, and as it pans across, what it ends up on is Naomi Scott's character. Like it's moved across the screen to the other side of the room, and it's still her, and you're like, what's going on here? Like that's a weird, it's just a weird pan across to the same character that doesn't quite fit, but it does fit because of the style that we've experienced. And it just it's unsettling.
Yeah.
The camera movements and the cuts and everything like that, and it plays into that paranoia that she has, especially when it does like match cuts on her exactly. Like she's from one place to another.
Lying in bed to then her makeup chair.
Exactly. And that also helps then with later on in the film when she wakes up, when she's in bed with Gemma. And she jumps out of the bed, and it's nighttime, and then she looks across, and it's daytime, and you're like, okay, so she's losing time, and we are also losing time with those match cuts.
Yeah.
Like, it puts us in her perspective of how quickly scenes are changing around her.
Yeah, and even with, there are scenes where you are going along with her paranoia, but then there are scenes where you know she did not cause, like, she goes into her room, and she sees her mother's assistant coming out, smiling at her, walking by, and then her room is trashed. We're fully on board with her, and we know there's some foul mischief going on here, but because she went in, but like, and what I would have appreciated more was if they checked the cameras, and when she goes in the room, that assistant did not come out of the room.
Yeah,
you know,
it'd be interesting
to show that she was hallucinating that even more so.
With the hallucinations, they do it in such an interesting way where you, the audience, are also unsure what is going to be a hallucination or not. Because there's often times where she will see something, it'll cut back and it's gone. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
But something like that where she comes out of the room and she's absolutely screaming the place down.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to go back in and the room's fine. I thought like it was playing with me as well. And then as well as that, obviously the room being destroyed, it's not happening. And then later on, obviously, sorry, we should have said this. We're about 25 minutes in now. Spoilers for the film. We're going to just spoil things. But when her mother kills herself with the piece of glass, I'm like, okay, this is obviously just the Smiler hallucinating. She's hallucinating this. And then all of a sudden, oh no, she killed her, she's dead. Like,
Yeah.
this was real. You
Yeah.
know, the hallucinations between her and us as the audience are great because you don't know really what's happening either, what's real.
Here's the thing about the hallucinations, right? And it's tripled down in this movie compared to the first one. You know, the hallucinations are now an essential necessity for this movie. It's part of the DNA. So you are on the lookout. You know, your hand over your eyes. You know, like your bird watching.
What's out of place? Yeah.
You're keeping an eye out for what's going to be hallucination, right? And of course, it's the simple things where she's in her apartment on her own and she starts seeing the shirt she signed.
Yeah.
And then she starts looking down the hallway. All the clothes are off and the dirty johns, and then that crazy.
You're after sending a shiver up my spine.
That red-skinned, dirty, decaying, crazed fan that she saw earlier is there in the darkness naked and charges at her. By the way, he charged at her with a jump cut. In the same shot.
Yeah.
So like he's standing still and you took out a few frames and he's already started running. He doesn't. It does it twice. It does it there, and it did it with the mother before she stabbed herself to the thing. Now, what I'm trying to say is, I know you want to say something, but you know that's a hallucination. But then there are other scenes where you don't know what's a hallucination, but you're still on the hunt out for it. And when it does enough to convince you that it's not, you forget. And then twists and turns keep coming. By the way, in that scene where that guy's charging after her, the crazy fan, he's naked, reminded me of It a bit. But when we're following her run away from where she was to her front door, and that's when Gemma appears. The sound of the footsteps coming after her, getting louder and louder and louder. And when you, as an audience, cannot turn around to see it coming after you.
Where is it? Yeah.
Because you know it's coming closer because it's getting louder and it's coming fast. But I can't turn around. So I have this fear of it just grabbing me. And you can't open the door faster, Naomi Scott. Open the door and get out quick.
Yeah.
So that's a real strong case to make for the creepiness of the movie.
Well, that scene I think is exemplary of a lot of different things that I think that the movie does really, really well and does right. And it's what you said there about the jump cut, right? The fact that we are seeing it all in camera. I think that something you said last night, a lot of scary movies, a lot of horror movies will
cheap horror movies, cheaply made, we'll get you.
They're cheap scares and they're cheap jump scares.
Yeah.
And what they'll do is that they will cut away from something, and then as they cut back to it, that's when
they cut back to the scary thing.
They hit the music, and it's because you haven't seen it, and now all of a sudden you are at the big musical cue, and bam, you're scared.
Yeah.
Whereas this gives you that creepiness as you look all the way down the hallway. You see the figure there, and then a jump cut within you. I think it cuts back to her her reaction, then back to the monster that's still there, exactly in the same position,
lingering,
and then a jump cut within the same shot. So it's an editing choice within the shot to just bam, and it's coming at you, and you're like, okay, now it's.
What you're talking about there is when she's in bed with Gemma and she wakes up, she's opened her heart out, and what her first emotional speech for her character.
It's another one,
she's pouring her heart out, and then Gemma responds, "It's because you're a bad person." And then he looks over at Gemma smiling. So you're thinking this whole time Gemma was never here. And when I think it does this about 3 times, Gemma, Sky, Gemma, Sky, Gemma, Sky, and every time we cut back to Gemma still smiling, we're waiting for the jump. And then we cut back to Sky as if, okay, no jump scare that time. What's going to happen next after we cut back? Because it's so close up in your face as well.
You can't escape it.
You can't escape it. You are Sky. You can't move unless Sky moves. And every time it goes back to Gemma, you're waiting for something. And you don't know what. And then you go back to Sky. Shit, they didn't do it. Reset. And they're going to go back. They're going to do it now. And the cheap way to do it is to, when it cuts back to Gemma, and bam, we'll get you there. That's when they press the red button with the loud audio music to hit you. But no, it doesn't do that. When it cuts back to Gemma, it lingers on that shot of her still smiling, and you're still waiting for something. And then it was a good visual effect done to her, where she opened her eyes and mouth, and it was like that of the headlights of a car and the horn beeping, and then she wakes up from her dream, and then that's when it's morning.
Although the argument could be made that, you know, that would be a cheap scare, or not even that it's a cheap scare, but that it is employing the same thing that other cheap scares are, where it's just playing a loud audio. I'd argue it's not, because you're like that. You're building the suspense between the two shots of the two characters. You get that lingering shot of her, and then as they play that loud sound, it's a visually interesting shot as well, where it's a scary image. It is genuine, and it's something that I've never seen before, where someone's lights like that coming out of their eyes and mouth. Like, it's a genuinely scary moment.
And it doesn't linger on that either.
It doesn't linger on that. We just go to it, and I think that's another thing about.
By the way, don't disagree with me. Like,
I'm agreeing. I hope that what we're saying is coming across correctly, is that this film, that although the argument could be made that they're employing the same techniques of that big audio cues are for jump scares,
but it utilizes it much better.
They utilize it much better, and they build upon that. It's not just relying on the music.
Do you know?
It's relying on the visuals and the editing.
When it does the thing with possessing the mother, where it does a match cut still on frame with her.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the same thing again.
It's the same thing again, and it's loud. But it got me. But it didn't get me because of just the loud audio.
The visuals.
The visual. It's the performance of the actor. And there's the sound effects of the creature as well, but it's like, oh, it got me again. You know?
Yeah.
So it's got me a few times.
Another element then, just about that scene with the stalker.
Yeah.
What I think was a really smart decision from the filmmakers to just shift the perspective of who our main character is. Obviously, in the first film, she is a doctor, the main character.
Yeah.
And so she is dealing with a lot of people that do have mental issues. And so when she starts to slowly get the hallucinations, that the people that she is surrounded by are other doctors or her family or anything, that know that she's stressed, she's under all this stuff. So shifting that perspective to a character who is, first of all, famous, has dealt with drug issues in the past, has dealt with losing her fiance or boyfriend or whatever it was.
Jack Nicholson's son.
I didn't realise that until after the fact. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I can see that in his smile. I could see the Jack Nicholson under there.
You can.
But when you introduce that element of that she's famous, what naturally comes with a famous person is a stalker. And so implementing him earlier on in the story, and we obviously as an audience know, okay, she has it. The Smiler is with her somewhere. We don't know where exactly it's going to turn up. It hadn't turned up yet for her. So when he turns up, you're like, oh, okay, this is him. And then you're led to believe it's going to be him. They're having the interaction where it's completely... they're having the interaction where she's getting freaked out. We're thinking, oh, it's a Smiler. No, it's just a normal fan.
Yeah.
So she doesn't realise anything really is going on other than this is a stalker.
The only thing she's been exposed as a Smiler is when that night after witnessing the murder, she wakes up to scan a room from my perspective right to left, and when she goes to the far left, she sees in the dark this corpse of the guy who just killed herself standing there. That was,
but that's that
was very quick and short.
And also could be put down to, like, from a character perspective, I was just hallucinating, I was dreaming.
Yeah,
you know, I'm traumatized.
So that's why that contributes to how she's not freaking out anything beyond than what is just simple reality. A crazy stalker fan.
So then later on...
What does creepy next is the little girl.
Well, just before we go to the little girl, because you've introduced that stalker character, when later on, when she's in the hotel, or when she's in her hotel room or apartment or whatever, and she sees the clothes on the floor and sees him, for her, that's not hallucination, that's real. This is a stalker. This is someone that's broken into the house.
That's true.
So it's a completely different level of scare that she's feeling, because for her, she hasn't really experienced or is aware that the hallucinations are happening. For her, that is a very real possibility, and I thought that was great. So that one scene employs so many different things that the film does well, of creating an eeriness and a creepiness throughout by using the editing and the story, and like I actually think, talking about it now, I actually think that the film's a lot better than what I initially thought. I think I'd actually change my star rating on this. This is actually, I think it
4.5.
I give it 4. I give it 3.5, but I give it 4.
I give it 4.
I think that so many elements of it are just done so well, and I think that let's talk about then the little girl, the creepy little girl that comes up to her.
What a great actress.
Yeah, great. And
To expose yourself like that, like in that very, it's not a very attractive look for
anyone to do, no, it's just
like for anyone to do those smile on their faces, like it's anyone can do it, but I don't want to see anyone do it. I could do it. I'm not going to do it.
No.
I'm going to
not even in the mirror by yourself.
I'm going to hit... No, not in the mirror. I'm going to hit you if you...
I wasn't gonna.
Don't do it.
Don't worry.
Because... Not because you're... Oh, let's have a bit of fun. No, just... It's very unsettling.
It is, yeah.
So... When the bodyguard moves out of the way and you just see the little girl smiling, there's so many witnesses around that obviously this is real, but she must be just an excited fan. But obviously it's not the case. The camera POV does this a lot where you're looking through the eyes of Naomi Scott and you see her hand coming into the camera as you would if you were to put your hand in front of your eyes and write or do her sign on her shirt. And then the assistant, okay, great. Now he's motivating the scene. He's okay, come on through. You get your shirt signed. Okay, now come on over here. We'll take a picture. And I love how it cuts to them in front of the background where they get their picture taken. She's looking at the camera, but the little girl's just constantly looking at Naomi Scott, constantly, and Naomi Scott is looking back and forth, kind of. And you get back into those POV shots so up close to your face when you're sitting in a theater as an audience. It's so up close in your face, and take a step back. You're too close to me.
Yeah, and it's a great scene because not only are we the audience clued in, she's not.
Yeah,
she's completely out of the loop, and she's just had a bad fan interaction. So this is just another weird fan interaction.
And you're still questioning whether it's real or not because you see the little girl still smiling at her, being brought away by what appears to be her guardian. So obviously, whoever that is, Naomi Scott was just hallucinating because later she was being fed different information by the writing in that little dinner party where she's on stage and she has to read a telegram,
the teleprompter,
teleprompter. So she has to read stuff, but it stops. So then she has to fake it, and this is in the midst of her paranoia, and she's sort of breaking down and becoming undone of her media training, sort of mentioning her previous trauma with her drug abuse and the car crash and how the stress of working. And
I thought that was really funny. I thought her jokes were actually quite funny, and I thought even funnier they did the lines.
The joke where she says, well, I shouldn't be mad at the music didn't make me snort up all that drugs and my nose. I did.
That was really funny. Genuinely was like, that's a funny line, and if I was in that room I would have laughed. I would have laughed out loud. I was like,
but no one else laughed. And then the thing does work. So obviously this thing can manipulate what she sees in public in front of witnesses. And when the guy who in charge of the party, someone she needs to oppress,
she's doing it for him.
He leaves, and then as he leaves, it took me a second to realize that the guy sitting down was her ex-boyfriend.
I didn't realize until after the scene. I didn't realize.
You thought it was just someone.
I just thought it was someone, and I think that maybe the problem with that is just that I hadn't seen him previously. I know there was one shot where she was watching the news and they were together, but I just didn't.
I think there was one flashback.
I didn't.
Where he was dead.
Yeah, but I still didn't click. I just hadn't seen him in motion.
Seeing someone covered in blood. You just see him dead. It was when he got up and started walking. That's when I realized, oh shit, it's right in front of him.
Yeah,
because he comes up to the stage and gets up right close, and then when she closes her eyes and you think she's gonna open her eyes right there, so close, but no, it's gone. And then you see in the background the old woman, sweet lovely old woman, blurred out. She's blurred out because of the focus shot coming up close. Done very seamlessly, like you're not even really paying attention that this old woman is coming back to pat her on the back to say, it's okay, my dear. When it cuts back to Naomi Scott's profile shot, that's when an abrupt invasion of a visual coming in to scare you. Loud music, but it does it so well because you were not expecting it. And then she pushes the old woman off the stage, and that does not give a good look for her.
And all of these things that it's doing, that the Smiler is doing to exacerbate her hallucinations and like that, all of those things on the outside perspective appears as though it's just her, she's off the wagon, she's back on drugs or something.
Yeah, and that does cause for why a character like this is worth doing a sequel on, because as you said, the first one was a doctor working in a mental institute who's being perceived as mental. This one is about a pop star who has a previous period of drugs and abuse, is now appears to be abusive and taking drugs again.
Yeah.
So they're strategically creating and crafting characters worthy for these small individual films, you know? I want to talk about how she first got cursed.
Yeah,
because
it's an interesting scene compared to
the first time.
Directly compared to the first film. Yeah, you go ahead.
We previously mentioned how we are not just starting off this movie with another set of characters being cursed. It's easily a given how people can be cursed and how this curse moves on from person to person. But what I do appreciate is that we are shown the connection, really keeping in tangent, tethering itself to the first movie. Why this is Smile 2.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing, because I think that what another director would do, whether that be a better director or a worse director, I'm not going to say that this is, it would have easily been done, is to just randomly have someone else have it.
Yeah.
And then at a later stage, we can go back and we can fill in the plot between those two movies.
Yeah. This movie starts off with it because, as we said, Joel indirectly curses someone else.
And we've a direct link between the two films. And there's no time between.
We didn't... I thought after that scene was going to happen, I thought that Naomi Scott was going to be cursed by someone else entirely, and that someone else entirely was just passed on by a curse by someone else. And someone else. So in fact, now saying that, I believe that's what was going to happen. I did not realise when she was going to go to her drug dealing it was him. I didn't realise that, and it's been a week later. And I like how he's been dealing with his paranoia, taking drugs the whole time.
Fueling the paranoia.
Yeah,
you know,
so that,
probably half of it is the smiler and the other half is the drugs.
Yeah, so I like how that does something differently. Not that I would want to watch a movie like that.
I'd say with him, he spent that entire week in that apartment. He never left that apartment.
I would think so, because there's a scene with him where he takes a video we're showing later. We'll talk about that in a minute. But what I want to talk about is we know Sky's fucked because she's there to get the drugs, but it's easy going drugs for her back pain. By the way, great job on her scar.
Yeah,
the scar was a good. You see, little scar on her back, and then big massive scar on her belly. That you're waiting for it to happen, right? You're waiting for Lewis, the drug dealer, to start freaking out and then become taken over by the Smiler. And so he walks into the kitchen in the dark room, and all I'm thinking is Pennywise. Anything to do with that. And so enough time has passed where she's sitting down and watching TV, and we're fed some information about how the news are talking about Sky's return to do her tour to get to get back to reality. I was thinking, how are they going to execute this scene? I thought I was even filling in the blanks, because when she says, "What's taking you so long?" gets up at the couch, walks over to the door. I was because they take their time in seconds executing that blocking for the actor, that I was imagining, is he going to slowly creep out of the edge of the door?
Yeah, I thought he was
already smiling.
Yeah.
Was it anything like that? No, he runs out of the room scared. Whatever he saw in that dark room, God knows. But then he looks up behind, and I like how we get a shot of Sky turning around. What's behind me? Nothing.
Yeah.
What I like here is that we are showing the same thing again as we saw in the first movie, but it's a little bit different. We
know what's going on. We have prior knowledge because of the events of the first movie.
We know there is a big entity behind Sky,
and what I like is because
we don't see it, but he does.
Because we're following Sky as the main character, even though we as the audience know what's going on, we don't see anything from his perspective because he's not the main character.
Exactly, and that hits home even more in the little video we see later. But we'll get to that in a second. what I want to get to is, I like how he's choking, right? And she's clued in, oh my god, what, are you overdosing? She tries to fix him.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how this camera remains on the actor playing Lewis, because when he's choking and he's fully consumed, he sort of like appears to wake up with his eyes already opened.
Mm-hmm.
He never closes his eyes, and he appears disoriented, like, where am I? What's going on? Not that that's what the creature is saying, but it's like being born.
Yeah, just
And-
like it's the creature, like, okay, where's my next victim?
Yeah,
More so.
Even though the creature may know who is in the room, who the witness is in
Yeah.
the room, like the creature may know there's a witness here. Great timing,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, they can't consume if there's no witnesses. Mm-hmm. So I like that they held the camera on the actor's face, waking up essentially,
Mm-hmm.
looking over towards Sky. Remember, this is a close-up tight shot, and then you see the actor smile.
Mm-hmm.
In the first movie, when this happened, the doctor was ringing the phone for help against the wall,
Yep.
and we see that the patient was just lying on the floor. And then the shot lingers on the doctor. Her back is to the camera, and she's facing the wall, and she hangs up the phone. And just for the sake of realistic time in seconds, takes a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
Turns around, looks over where her patient once was, gone, with a broken vase there, and she looks over to where she is right in front of her, and the patient kills herself, and the patient is already smiling.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy for executing in a horror genre, because it contributes to the creep factor, it contributes to freaking out the audience, it contributes for practicality and saving the budget.
Yeah.
You don't see a process like that. Here you do see the process. You see the living motion of the performer going from choking to waking up with his eyes already open, being disoriented, and smiling as he looks at Sky. Mm-hmm. And then what I like about this is that the Smiler will just grab anything.
Whatever is nearest, whatever will.
Yeah,
get the job done.
doesn't even look. Mm-hmm. Just grabs one of those weights and just smashes his face 3 times. And it only takes 3 times because the Smiler doesn't feel pain. Mm-hmm. It does it to kill the person.
Yeah.
And 3 committed strong hits would do that job, because you're not resistant.
And
There's no sense of safety for that,
Does it cut back to Naomi Scott at all? Because I'm fairly sure it's a hit himself in the head, drop the weight down, and you see the prosthetics, and then hits again, and the prosthetics are now worse, and hit again, and the prosthetics are worse. I don't remember it cutting away.
I think it cut away once,
maybe
at the start.
Okay, yeah.
I remember between hit 2 and hit 3, it remained on him. But prosthetics, great job.
Great job. Yeah, genuinely. Very, very good.
I want to talk about some of the scares before we get to the third act. A scare that I thought was going to get me, because I seen a still of it on YouTube or on the webs, was her looking at the mirror and this larger figure behind her,
yeah,
and then putting the fingers in her mouth to make her smile. I thought that was another depiction of the entity itself, of the Smiler, because it looked massive, but it was just
the height difference between the two characters.
And that was it. But the fact that the thing was just standing behind her, and it was slowly, if Sky would move to look behind her in the mirror, it would slightly move.
Yeah, just obscuring his face enough where it's just his outline.
Yeah,
over hers.
And I have to fault that as that's not really gonna be how it would be done. Like, if I was looking at that, I would not for a second still be there. You're not gonna stand there looking at another person in a reflection that's not actually behind you, that you can't see, but you're just slowly moving if you can see. No, that's not gonna work. But that's what I think. That's why the scare didn't get me. What scare that did get me was when she was sent the phone video.
Well, before you talk about that one, because I also was scared by that, I'll say one other one that I was scared of.
Oh yeah?
And it wasn't particularly a scare, it was more so my own
oh yes,
not being able to handle these things.
Yeah.
When she was performing and then obviously her ex-boyfriend there is a smiler in front of her. She falls backwards and breaks her leg, and her leg protrudes out, the bone protrudes out of the skin. I was like, no. I think you might have saw me, like I put my head back and like, no, we'll wait till this one's over.
Yeah.
I can't.
You don't like bones breaking out of skin.
No, I like seeing it as in terms of it scares me, so it's a great way to get me.
Yeah.
But I can't look at it. Like after I've seen it initially, I'm like, no, that's enough. Like I couldn't. If they continued showing it, I wouldn't be able to look at it. It's a great scare. Like,
yeah.
It gets me.
Did you think it actually broke, or did you think
I
it
thought it broke. Yeah.
I did take it first, but then I thought, wait, it could be just hallucination.
I thought it did just because of how much trouble she was having with her back.
Yeah.
So that her body is in a state of being broken.
Yeah. I actually do want to talk about the choreography aspect of this movie, but after the next scare that... I think this could be the best or second best scare that got me.
Yeah. And it was only afterwards thinking about it, I was like, of course we didn't see anything, because the monster only exists in that person's mind.
Yeah. So as we said, we don't see it when Skye is there pre being cursed.
Yeah, because she's the main character.
Yeah.
We're not in Lewis's head.
Yeah. So this feeds into that. Mm-hmm. So there's a mysterious number texting Skye. We're not buying it.
No.
And then after hallucination, she starts seeing that this number sending messages appears friendly with some information. And then Lewis posted this video 4 days ago before he died. And we see him still in his apartment, which that's a great idea if he's just stuck in his apartment for the entire week. Mm-hmm. High on coke, and then the room's dark, and no way you're going to be stuck in your apartment in the entire dark and the only light is the TV. And right, you're waiting, right? Mm-hmm. You're waiting for something to come, and you're watching the video, and he's creeping around his bedroom, and he's like whispering things to himself, right? Mm-hmm. And it keeps cutting back to the video to Skye looking on her phone. Did you see something standing behind her?
No.
I did.
Oh, did you?
So like something was standing behind her, like just shoulders edging above her shoulders.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
Like they had to have put something there, because you're waiting for it. Because the shot is on her face looking down on her phone, right? Mm-hmm. Like how I see you.
Yeah.
And then you're cutting back to the video of Lewis going around his kitchen. And it's very dark, right? But it's not dark enough that you can't see.
Yeah, if you
anything.
squint, you might be able to catch something.
That's it. You're squinting, right? And then
I can just about make it out.
In the corner, in the darkest part of the kitchen, you are squinting, and he says, "It's just there. It's sitting there. It keeps smiling at me." Mm. But you're squinting. You're trying to see what's there. Mm. And can you see something there? I don't know.
I don't think so. I think that there's something there in terms of like that. There is no smiler there for us to see, but there's something there that it's like, oh, if I just lean in a little bit more, I might be able to make out what it is.
And that's why the scare got me.
Bam, gets you.
Because you cut back to Skye in a wide...
It cuts back to Skye in the wide.
In a wide shot.
Pans over to him there and
he's already standing there. And
yeah. It's a great job of getting you, because it invites you in.
That's exactly it. Because you're sitting back in your seat and you're clenching your fists and you're folding your arms and you're not moving. You're... Come at me, bro. Mm-hmm. And then when it's trying to invite you in, you're slowly getting off your couch, mm-hmm. and you're squinting, you're trying to see what's there, and then bam, catch it.
It's great. It genuinely does a great job of. That's why I think that, like we said earlier, I think that every scare that it gets me, it's earned.
Yes.
Because it's done in a way that I am genuinely scared.
Yes. The choreography part. I thought the choreography in the dance studio when she first appeared to get her back pain, pre-cursed. Mm-hmm. That was actually quite good.
Yeah, that's
good choreography.
What I was saying earlier, that like it's not half arse that she's a celebrity.
Yeah.
You know, we're seeing these different aspects. And I thought something I was thinking about, it didn't happen so much obviously the second half of the film, but the first half of the film, it was great to just have scenes that are actually focused on her life.
Yeah.
As opposed to
trials and tribulations with her mother, and trying to promote the tour, and her experience with her troubles in the car accident and drug abuse.
That not every scene is in service to the monster.
Pulling her hair.
Yeah, I thought that with the scar and the hair, I thought that I was like, there has to be something with the scar, and I thought that there had to be something where like she was going to get scalped and her full hair was going to get pulled off or something.
Yeah, like an Evil Dead Rise or something like that.
Yeah, I thought something like that was going to happen. Now obviously not. I thought there was going to be a bit with the water as well. There was only a small bit where the they knock the water over.
Yeah, I thought they were going to do something interesting or scary with the water because she consumes a bottle of water an awful
in
lot
like
of times.
3 seconds. Yeah, it's very quick.
Like, imagine Naomi,
and the fact that they were glass balls as well.
yeah, imagine Naomi Scott doing that. Like, don't drink too much water on your break.
Yeah.
And so we're introduced into the choreography with all the dancers moving her, lifting her. That's a lot of movement and work, right? And we see it again when she appears to have broken her leg. And then we get a third time. This is after she met Morris, and she says, "Fuck this, I'm out." She's packing up her shit. She smashes her glass in her shower.
That was a great scene as well. That's another long.
That was a long take. So imagine all those extras standing there in the dark, already smiling.
Yeah. Oh,
did you know that was coming?
no, not at all. Well, like I said, I watched the trailer once, so I didn't have preconceived like, oh, this is going to happen later on or anything like that.
I don't even know if they were the exact actors who were the dancers in our team, or if they're just extras. But you see, there's a crowd of them, and they're just standing there. And if Naomi Scott falls, they all turn their heads down, looking at her.
Yeah, it's like making eye contact.
Yeah, it's like their bodies are still, but their heads are moving. And if she looks away to her door, she looks back, and they're already closer.
Yeah, but they're not like they've moved, but not in such a way that they're right up to her face.
No,
they've moved ever so slightly.
Yeah, but like significantly slightly, I'd say.
Yeah, but I think that the way that
they were at the far back of their wardrobe,
and then they're middle of the wardrobe.
Yeah,
I think what the monster is doing is like almost giving you that false sense of hope. Like, no, you can run. Go on, try.
That's exactly what this was doing.
Try get away. Like, we're not gonna all of a sudden we've got you.
Yeah,
make an attempt. Go on.
Yeah,
we'll still
toying with her.
Yeah,
and when she runs out of her room and she goes to the main lobby and there's someone already standing there, and then she turns around and she looks back to her hallway door entrance, and the entire dancing team are piled up to the ceiling, to the height of what the entity actually is. Jesus Christ. And they're still smiling. That's gotta hurt your cheeks.
I think with that scene, because there was so many of them, that's why I was really missing the fact that I thought that at some point, because obviously she's a singer and playing in a concert, I thought that a really interesting thing would be to have a whole concert venue of people smiling like that.
Yeah.
I think that would have been just a really visually striking image, and so I was surprised it didn't happen.
Funny enough, that I would agree, that is a great idea, but based on the story they've told,
where would it fit? Yeah,
exactly. Because an entire concert or a stadium, no, I think you'd have to change some elements of the story,
because it's all leading up to that first concert.
Exactly,
and obviously she's not in the right state for that.
Yeah,
for it to make sense to the story. I just thought of it as a missed opportunity because of having an arena full of people and all of them smiling. It's just like it just felt natural that would be a shot.
Yeah.
But where would I put it in the story? I don't know. You'd be rewriting the story then, so I don't
want all those extras, those dancers just toying with her in her apartment. And then she just about gets to the door, but she doesn't make it. And they're all just handling her, fondling her and pushing her around, doing the choreography in a very
different way.
Bad, in a bad way. They're harming her and planting her to the ground. So really hurting her. And then the mother scene happens, and this is the first time we're seeing the monster kill someone that's not Skye, that's not possessing her.
Yeah.
And then it appears, no, that's not the case. The monster made Skye kill her. And so I thought that,
which is interesting because that's not something that was introduced at all.
No,
in either
it's something new. That would be like the doctor in the first movie killing her husband.
Yeah.
And I gotta give praise to
the only time it happened really in the first film was with the cat.
Yes, that's true. That is true. Yeah, you're right. But it's just a cat.
But it's it's a different level here. Yeah.
I gotta give a shout out to Naomi Scott's acting.
I think so too. I think that we've gone so long now. It's a shame that we haven't mentioned a brilliant performance. I really, really enjoyed her, and she wasn't afraid to get in there, get committed.
Like snots on her nose,
snots and tears and everything, blood everywhere.
I said
great performance.
I said that a good actor is able to cry on command while giving a very petrified performance, and not standing or sitting still. She cries a tear when she's moving from one end of her bed to another. Try doing that as an actor.
Yeah.
Try
doing multiple things. Yeah.
do multiple things while crying. That's not easy. And when she believes she killed her mother, and she tries to run from her corpse to shut the front door to stop the assistant coming in, and she struggles a bit, and she's trying to catch her breath as well. She's struggling to speak her words, and she's still shocked. Like, that's so well done, well performed. Like, it's the best performance in the franchise.
Yeah.
And it's one of the better performances in the year, and it's one that I should say, I think it should be considered for. I don't know what performances are done by leading female actresses in movies this year that don't stand out compared to her in this movie.
Yeah.
What else does?
It'll definitely be one to consider for our end of year wrap up in terms of like best actress. Maybe we'll do like awards this year.
Yeah, except we give out the nominations and we choose the awards.
Yeah, and we'll do that. Yeah,
the winners.
Here are our favorites, but here's the best. But yeah, no, I think that another aspect of her great performance was the fact that she got to play against herself.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, towards the end, she got to play the monster and herself.
I thought I really did get a lot of vibes that she was Lady Raven.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the long hair and the heavy
Didn't
makeup.
even feel like Naomi Scott.
No, it didn't.
Felt like a different actress.
It did feel like a different actress. And it's not just the smiling she does. It's all the heavy makeup. It's the long hair. It's the darker appearance as well.
Yeah.
A different costume. It does feel. It's like an angel and a demon. It does appear like a different actress. So her escape, by the way, was great. Leaving the building and then taking the gun and then getting away, and then here's Gemma again, who
out of nowhere
we haven't seen since the start of the movie. I did think she's very willy-nilly in going with her friend she hasn't seen in a year, who has a prior history of drug abuse and car accidents, and she's waving a gun. She goes in the car anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it naturally so feeds into why it's not real. They're in the car and she tells her, pull over, get out. She doesn't. She says, I'm with you till the end, you know? And then Sky gets the phone call. And before she read it, I went to put my hand over my head. No, or over my mouth. I don't know. Said, oh, shit. And then it's Gemma.
It would have been so easy for her to answer that phone and for Gemma to say, hey, yeah, I'm just pulling up to the hospital now. But no, it's... yeah, what the fuck, like, were those crazy texts about? Sorry, I'm only getting back to your voicemail now.
I haven't talked to you in a year.
I haven't talked to you in a year. And you're like, what do you mean I haven't talked? Like, me as an audience member is like, oh no, it's never been Gemma. Gemma hasn't been here at all. Which I think is a great moment where then obviously she looks at Gemma, and then you're thinking back to all those moments where Gemma has appeared and it's like, no, that was the smiler the entire time, and she was acting normal to lure her into a false sense of security.
It was the smiler when Gemma appeared at the front door. It was her when they were having the heart-to-heart. It was a smiler when they were in bed. Smiler when she made her coffee. Smiler when she appeared to talk to her mother.
It's just...
The mother. You said the mother never responded to her.
Yeah, it's a one of those tricks where...
Even though Sky has left the screen and that Gemma is still standing there with the coffee, she says... hey, Marge, or whatever her name was.
Yeah, but we never see an acknowledgement from Marge's perspective.
Yeah, and I thought they were going to set up something like a bit of a rivalry between them. It's like, you're not good for her. No, you're not good for her.
But she's the one that told her to contact her. So, yeah, it's an interesting way of tricking us as an audience that... because we saw Gemma try and interact with the mom, but never the mom interact with Gemma, we didn't think anything of it because of the nature of the scene as well. That's like,
and the nature of the cinematography.
Yeah,
we never see the two in the same frame.
Yeah,
you're not thinking anything beyond it. You're looking for the next scare to come, and so yeah, Sky looks back to Gemma and it's already smiling. And I'm just waiting for this thing to just grab her by the face or something like that.
I thought that was how I thought the movie was going to end here. I thought that the way that she was going to die was by another car accident. I thought that was going to be like a cyclical thing of...
oh. No, I didn't feel like that. I was surprised at how she appeared to be driving again. Funny enough, she is able to wrap her foot with the towel, stop the bleeding while driving.
Yeah, one of those things like of hallucinations, like you don't know exactly, like it's not something that you need to think about, like
Yeah, but it's
like if you were to look at this from an outsider's perspective, is she just shouting at no one, or is this all taking place in her head and she's kind of like in a zombie like
But how is she physically able to drive and wrap her foot?
Yeah.
Like when her mother died, she was strapped onto that needle with the drip. Mm-hmm. How was she able to go break the glass, kill her mother after getting released from the drip?
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things that I'm just nitpicking. Maybe I'm.
It's one of those things with hallucination that if you look too far into it, it doesn't make sense.
It's one of
so it's just you just kind of take it as it comes.
It's one of those things where you never see a bad guy tie up a person just because he's because he's waving a gun. It just happens, because that's where they shot the next thing.
Yeah,
you know, it's the in between the story.
You never see the characters eat and then go to the toilet. Like
exactly,
it's just, you just assume that those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Happen. Yeah,
and so I was on board with this plan. You know, you're doing another Smile movie about a creature who hunts down people.
The plan for her to get rid of the demons.
Exactly.
We didn't talk about that at all. It's that she's met with Morris, who...
so, what I like about this guy, I actually knew this actor was going to be in it. He was in Fear the Walking Dead. I thought a suitable part. He appears to be like a... naive to the dire nature.
Yeah.
It's like, he appears to be the guy with the knowledge, like how the prisoner was in the first one, but he's more informed. I was thinking, all right, was he cursed? Was he tormented by the Smiler, and did he kill someone to pass it on? Mm-hmm. No, it was his brother. I think that brother was mentioned in the first movie, but based on the chain. It was before the history professor. So he's coming up with a plan. We need to kill you before the thing kills you. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, and he's like, yeah, simple.
Easy, yeah.
Yeah.
So you just want to kill me before it kills me.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
And
that makes sense as a plan, like of how would you stop this thing?
It's like a virus.
It's a virus. You can't stop it. Like there's no, like from me as an audience perspective, there is no way to kill this thing.
Yeah.
It's a, you get it, you're done. I'm sorry. The only way is to pass it on to someone else rather than...
And that's the thing that I have to criticize for the first movie in a way, just based on the story you've told, is that, well, there's no hope. There really is nothing you can do.
You don't like that. You don't like a no hope story.
I don't like horror movies anymore that have, the protagonist die at the end. Mm-hmm. I don't like that. Mm-hmm. I just don't. Maybe I did at the time. Maybe I was okay with it or was indifferent at the time. But now I just don't like it. Mm-hmm. No matter how strong the movie is. And it's even harder a pill to swallow when the character is doomed. Mm-hmm. There is no hope. It's hopeless.
Yeah, it's just a waiting game now.
Yeah. But it's worth it because the journey's great. But I thought because they were doing this sequel, following a new character, and here's your opportunity to explore new things and implement new things. That the first plan was for her, the doctor, to not be around other people. And to, confront it and burn it, and that was it. But no, that wasn't the case at all. It was all hallucination, and she died. So the plan here was to technically kill herself and then move on, to get rid of it from herself. And so I was on board with this plan, that it could work. And we're in the freezer, and okay, I'm going to go out and get something. I'll be back. Mm-hmm. That guy's not back at all.
No.
And that's when you said when Naomi Scott plays off herself, the Smiler is wearing her skin. Mm-hmm. And I thought that this was a great scene. I thought that it got me. Those eyes.
Yeah, the eyes.
The eyes.
Yeah. I thought that obviously with the first movie, seeing the monster with the multiple teeth, the multiple mouths within mouths, that was a great visual, like of a creepiness. However, the eyes when they changed, I was like, oh, they're disgusting. And then it cuts back to Naomi Scott and I went, well, I hope when we go back the eyes are still there. And it was. I was like, okay, great, that's just like a new feature of the monster.
I thought this was a new feature of the monster based on the host it's been tormenting. I thought that the creature appears different to other people. Mm-hmm. I thought that's what this was the case. And the only similarities was the mouth, the jaw, and the jaw, and the jaw, Yeah. But we learned that later on. We learned that's not the case. But it got me that She injected herself to kill herself.
Yeah, it's one of those things similar to how in the first movie you're led to believe that she set it on fire, and then she goes and speaks with Joel.
Yeah,
and then you find out that was all hallucination, and it's the same kind of feeling of no, fuck you. She puts it in her neck.
Yeah,
we're on the way to defeating it, and then no, what do you mean? This is all a hallucination. Did you know? Like this is all a dream.
This is all real. Mm-hmm. None of this is real.
Yeah,
still smiling.
So I wonder at what point. Like, is Maurice real? Is he real at all? Is he a person? Because we don't know how far back she's been in this state. Because, like, when she's back at the concert, like, the mom is there, fine.
Yeah.
No bother to her.
That never happened. Gemma never... Mother's death never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Gemma appearing never happened. We don't know what didn't happen. So this movie really did triple down on the whole hallucinations.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't tell you if Maurice was real at all. If that bar scene was real at all.
No. Because...
You don't know.
No, we don't know, because those texts when they initially came in, we thought they were the monster itself.
Oh yeah.
So
and because it can manipulate things like that, like a teleprom. That's what it is, right? Teleprom.
Yeah.
So it can manipulate technology. It can manipulate fake voices over the phone, and it can manipulate. I forget my thought now because we've been going on so long, and we still haven't talked about the final confrontation. So yeah, it can manipulate texts from an apparent mysterious but what appeared to be a trustful friend, but now we don't know what the case was, and that's something I don't like, only because it's like, well, then what happened there? Did he leave and then that wasn't real? I wanted him to come back and then resuscitate her and then that's it. But
yeah, that's your hope for a hopeful ending. I think that.
Well, then I just don't like. I just wanted to see something conclude to that. I didn't want him to just walk out of a room and then that's it. He was the only ally left remaining, and he just walks out of a room like, I want to know more there, even if it means just kill him. But she tells her to break a leg out there, and here we are. We're at the performance, her first show, and then she looks at herself again, but it's more looking like her in her costume, in her hair, and then she opens up her old scar, and I guess we're doing this. I guess it's doomed for her.
Yeah.
And we see this the true form of the Smiler. Disgusting.
Yeah, it was like a stop motion puppet or something, the way it was moving. Like it is just fleshy, disgusting, like
skinny.
Yeah, it's rotten. It's a great design in terms of like it's one of those things that you don't want to look at it, but you can't look away either.
But it doesn't give you enough seconds to pay attention to it either.
It's long as well. That's the thing. Like it crossed the stage in terms of like the distance between the two.
And it's Brazilian.
Is it Brazilian?
Oh, I don't.
Is it? You just know it came from Brazil.
Yeah, no, it came from Brazil, so I'm just calling it Brazilian. And what do you think of the visual effects of it ripping open her mouth, ripping open Naomi Scott's mouth? I'm trying to. We've not seen stuff like that in a movie before.
No, yeah, this is like body horror, but like stretching out body horror.
Yeah, and ripping open like it's paper.
Yeah.
We've never seen like that before, and it doesn't. It lingers on it quite a bit, where it's like, stop this, and then it cuts to what the audience are seeing, and it's just her choking on herself, and then she gets back up, and we don't see her face initially.
No,
because we know when she turns around, she's going to be smiling, and she's got an audience to witness her death.
Which I always felt that was how it was going to end. I think initially, knowing that she was a pop star, I had a feeling that would be where it would come to an end.
Right.
Because it raises the question now. She obviously went and the Smiler killed itself.
Yeah.
Passing on the curse.
Yeah.
But to an entire stadium of people. Does that Smiler now live within every single one of their heads? Like, has it multiplied
simultaneously
in everyone? And that is the thing where it does leave it open for a sequel, and now anyone could have it. I was at the Sky Riley concert and who it is. But I think that if we are going to get a sequel, I don't know who could be the next person, the next host, because it has to be someone that is as interesting as either of these two previous ones.
Yeah. So, because this movie ended, again, in the same way that there is no hope for this character, because once they are cursed, they are doomed. You've had a second chance to do something different in concluding this, and you went with the same thing again. And so, as a result, we've seen it twice. I don't want to see it a third time. I don't really want a third Smile movie.
I don't think...
I don't want it, because I don't want to watch another character go through a journey like this, even though it's well worth it. I had a time, David. It was a good time. But I don't want that a third time, only to think, well, it's just going to end the same way. You can come up with a new plan, a new different plan to remove this creature. Go to the origins if you want. But if you're just going to end it in the same way as the first two movies, well then... what's the point?
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. That's something that you don't want to see. You don't like the hopelessness of it. I think that, I know it's a bit of a trope as well. I just think that if we were going to see a third one, I would just like to see a period piece. I think that, take it back to the 80s, take it back somewhere that, take it back to the 1900s where some girl is possessed by it and people think that she's got hysteria and they put her in a mental institution or something like that.
Oh, that could work.
I don't know what period it would be. I just think that whoever the next protagonist is has to be really interesting, and I think that I just don't know. Like me personally, I wouldn't have said celebrity next. But it's a wide range of type of characters. A doctor and a celebrity. Yeah. So I don't know who could be next. What they've been dealing with that would mean that the Smiler can feed off of them.
I think an interesting character would be someone who is informed of this Smiler. Who
isn't figuring it out.
Already knows, who's already clued into it. Someone like the prisoner, or someone who was like Morris. Maybe even someone who was cursed but was able to get rid of it, but has seen after this concert a mass hysteria of suicides have taken place all on the same day from that murder.
Saying that, I'd say that the most likely would be a detective or someone like that. But I feel like that was what your man was at the beginning of this. He was a police officer.
Yeah, so maybe not a detective, maybe like a reporter or an investigator. But someone, whoever it would be, I think it would be someone who knows what this thing is. And every time this Smiler appears to this person knows you're fucking with me. Yeah. And therefore, as a protagonist,
they're fighting it.
And they're able to be one step ahead of themselves if they weren't included in on this Smiler being. So I think that would make it interesting. A journalist, reporter, a surgeon, someone interested in profession or whatever. Make it a cop or a detective or anyone really. Or a therapist, doesn't matter. But someone who knows what the Smiler is and their capabilities that the Smiler is able to taunt with. The fact that the protagonist could expect what the Smiler can do, I think that could be interesting. Yeah. Because then you're able to root for the character, and that you're able to believe that the character is able to stay a few feet away from the thing. I'm tired now, but...
That's all right. We can wrap it up now if you want, man.
Well, one other thing I wanted to say. I don't mean this in a bad way, but this movie, Smile 2, is definitely a copy and paste.
Okay. Tell me more.
Okay, I'm tired, but just give me a second. We have the suicide and then passing of the curse. We have the first taunting in that of the corpse appearing in night in their home. We have the setting up of a jump scare with a character watching something on a video or listening to something on a computer, and as they squint their eyes or listen closely, that the creature pops out next to them. And then
I get you, it follows pretty much the same formula as the first movie.
And then all the hallucinations we started and set it up, and the fact that the one person you're sitting next to is a Smiler, and then they conclude in of the story where it always ends with a doomed character dying and then passing on. It is a copy and paste. Mm-hmm. It is. It's just done.
It's executed well both times,
and it's done with multiple variations, and that's it. Like I'm not hitting on it. Like, it is the same, and so that's why I think I would rather see Parker Finn do something different now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
I understand. Have you got a very, very quick recommendation for you before we let them go?
No,
I'm
tired. This has gone on for like nearly an hour and a half.
That's all right. I'm going to recommend very quickly The Thing. I think that's a good movie, and for no reason other than it's a good movie, maybe you should watch it before next week. No other reason. Just maybe watch The Thing. It's a good movie. It's Halloween.
This year's flown.
I know. I think that the second half of this year is absolutely I feel like we just entered October now.
Just remember back when we watched Argyle and we did that.
Jesus! Remember when we watched Dune? Pick of a good movie. How about that?
No, I'm not saying Argyle. I'm saying Argyle because it was February.
Oh right, yeah.
Dune was March.
Yeah,
like I'm trying to give a sense of time to it.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Talking Pictures Podcast. As I said at the top of the show, make sure you're subscribed on your favourite podcasting app of choice, as well as following us on all of our social medias. We have a new episode every single Wednesday, as well as bonus episodes every other weekend. All of the links to all of our social medias are down in the description below, so you've no excuse for not finding us. Brian, any final words before we let these people go?
No.
Thanks, Brian.